YouTube? This is Shirley426, and today we have the review of the Robot Damashii Crossbone Gundam X-3 figure. Now, this is my first non-advert anime Robot Damashii figure, so this is like one of the Robot Damashii figures that used to be like the ones we know. First of all, I bought mine as a second hand, so I bought this one for like about $30, very cheap. And I'm really glad I bought it. Well, the main reason I bought the figure is that, number one, I pretty much gave up looking for the X-3 HGUC kit because I couldn't find one in Korea. As I know, a lot of people tell me that there's like this website, that website, but those are all foreign websites. I have a policy of trying to buy all my stuff from within Korea, or at least using a Korean service, and for the reasonable price. I'm not gonna pay like $150 for an HGUC kit. Number two, I've seen a lot of mixed opinions regarding this figure because of all the colors, proportions, and yada yada. But of course, there is a premium Bandai version of the X-3, which is basically has a better color and better proportions, and has better effect parts, including the eye field effect part. So if you have a choice, or if you can find the premium Bandai version, definitely go for that, because that one is definitely the Crossbone X-3 that everybody kind of has like the image of. So yeah. Anyway, so let's get on to the review. So I brought out the X2. This is the HGUC version. I'll put a link on the description below for the review that I made a long time ago. So yeah. So we're gonna put this aside. So let's talk about the components. So first of all, what we get is some basic beam sabers. A very long beam saber effect parts. I think these are more of the master grade lengths, and then two normal white beam saber hilts. You can pull the part out if you want to do so, but we have no method of storing the beam saber hilts. So I'm just gonna leave one over there. We get a head. Now, one of the main problems of the original X-3 figure is that some parts are not color accurate. So you can see this is the open head version. Now the X1 and X2, I believe if you have those figures, the way how they do this is that it's more of a helmet thing. So you pull out the helmet and then you have to swap the faceplate out. This one, they give you a entirely new head, so I do like that. I love that, but I don't know why the inside of the mouth is black. Yes, that's actually black inside. It's supposed to be gold as far as I know, unless I'm missing a small detail. So yeah, but other than that, they did a very good job on the red lines on the head, and then those black linings, and the white 3 on the forehead. Very well done. So I'm not gonna demonstrate this, but the way how you do this is you pull off the head and then you swap it with this. So not too difficult. Okay, so we get the Murasame blaster, which also works as a both blaster and a sword. And we have this front part, which came out very nice. It has the blue and white skull crossbone. Problem is, the eyes did not come in black. That I colored myself. But the other side, because of this peg, we're having a big problem here. We have all the engravings here, but yeah, which is why the premium Bandai also kind of fixed that part. Is that they got rid of the peg and then they colored both sides. But other than that, it looks very nice, and we get some beam effect parts for this. Once again, if you have the premium Bandai version, these beam effect parts would look more natural instead of having this unnatural spikiness, actually. I believe the HG and Master Grade are also like this, but oh well. So you just need to attach this, and also on the end tip, we can also attach another a large beam effect part. I believe so you can use this as a beam saber effect part, or as the blaster effect part, but yeah. But this one kind of falls out a little bit easy, so keep that in mind. Alright, and then we get some hands. Now you get 6 hands in total, 2 fists. Currently one I'm using on the figure, the other hand is using a trigger finger, so you get 2 trigger fingers. Well, I say trigger finger, but this hand is basically for all the weapons. So yeah, you get 2 of those, and then 2 open hands. Now this is mostly for the posing for the eye field part, because if you see in the manga, the X-3 always does this open hand pose to activate the eye field. And then, yeah, because we also have that round part. I believe that's supposed to be orange, but I could be wrong. Because when you read the manga, you barely see them in color. And then here we have the basic weapons. I believe this is called... I forgot what this is called, because I believe because if you combine these two, I believe this is called the Zam Buster. But when you actually have them in separate modes, is that I believe this is the Beam Zamber. Yeah. This is supposed to be the Beam Zamber, and then this is supposed to be the Buster Gun. Yeah, I think this is called the Buster Gun. But once again, they're all colored pretty well because if you remember the X2, this thing did not come in entirely colored. This like you will have a fullish black pistol without those yellow colored parts. So you have the handle that can move for combining the two, and we have the for the blade. You can take off the beam effect part if you want to do so, and then you can flip this up and then combine them to make it into the Zam Buster. I keep forgetting what that small ball jointed thing is for, but yeah. Alright. And you can see as the Brasame Blaster, and even on these weapons, you can see there's like these pegs going on. So I just want to mention, I'm not going to demonstrate them anymore, but these are mostly to store them into the waist section of the side skirt section, to be honest. So there's a peg and there's a hole. You just need to do that, but of course they might come in very stiff, so if you can, you might need to widen the hole a little bit so you don't actually damage anything. Okay, and then finally, before I start the review, these are the heat daggers that goes into the back of the legs. The HGs did come with them, but they were terrible. They came in like this, a full gray part, and keep in mind, I sharpened this myself at the time, but they originally come in as a really dull butter knife blade. This is the one that comes with the figure, so the figure definitely wins in terms of this. Absolutely love that. Okay, so I'm gonna leave one only, and let's get on to the review. As I mentioned, I took out the X2 for a good amount of reasons, mostly for comparisons, because those who still don't know, like Robot Damashii figures, I believe they don't actually keep them in their original scale or proportions, I believe, because those who know F91, Victory, Crossbone, they're supposed to be smaller, smaller than the typical Universal Century mobile suits, like let's say the Jegan or the original RX-78 or Unicorn Gundam. So here we have between the X2 and then the Robot Damashii. The Robot Damashii version definitely has, it's a little bit slightly more taller, and then all the proportions are much more bulkier. The body is much more bulkier, the arms, shoulders, everything's a little bit more bulkier, or you could say fatter. So that's one thing I just want to mention by bringing out the X2. And yes, I'm having some balance issues because number one, the leg joints here are, I wouldn't say loose, but they feel a little bit slippery. And number two, the feet. The feet has these weird moving sections on the front part, so which actually does give me some hard time. So before I go on, here is a typical HGUC kit. So you can see definitely the Gundam local time is definitely much more larger, but not by a lot. So you can see that. Okay, so let's get on with the review now. This is actually my second take because I forgot a lot of good information. So for the head part, the V-fin is actually a rubberish part and really well colored, if you ask me. Now, if you look at the figure itself, you can see the blue is kind of darker. Now, those who know the X-3 or those who have the image of an X-3, usually you would think it would be sky blue, which the premium bond light version actually is sky blue. So I just want to mention that. So the head part can go down that much, up that much, and then 360 shouldn't be no problem if you know your way through. And then if you want to, you can take the V-fin off pretty easily. Just in case if you need to pull out the head and you don't want to rip off the V-fin for some reason. I mean, you don't want to damage the V-fin. So that's that. And then before we go on to the arms, I would like to mention the backpack. Now, I believe the X1, X2 Kai, the X2 Kai, since it doesn't actually have a core fighter anymore, it actually comes in the entire backpack. The X1, once again, it comes out of a core fighter. You don't actually put the core fighter in, but you can take off the entire backpack and then put it on the core fighter. This one, you don't have that function. The way how this comes is that they come in individual pieces like this, so you can't take off the backpack entirely, which is fine, I guess. And when you look at it more and more, instead of like because the X1 and X2 Kai, they use the same frame or same base design. The X3 is actually taking a different design concept, I believe, in terms of the figure. I'm not talking about the manga Crossbone, but the figure itself. So when you look at, so the more I look into it, it's more a mixture of, like, the typical Crossbone, proportions mixed with the manga proportions. The more I look at it, I'm seeing more of the manga-ish look into it. But anyway, for the body, it can go 90 degrees to the side, but if you force it, you can go a little bit more if you want to do so. And then you have a nice ab crunch, a very nice ab crunch. And then the crossbone symbol on the chest, and then those eyes are supposed to have Vulcans, which you can actually see, but I believe they're supposed to be metallic silver, but they come in black, which is fine. And the arms, they're on a ball joint like this, so that's why you can move it forward and backward. And then we have these holes on the shoulders. I'm not sure what it's for. And then we have all this nice red line, those yellow colored parts, because the HGUC version, oh boy, they were all supposed to be stickers, and they're probably going to be blue. And then let's see, the arm can go 90 degrees to the side, or a little bit more if you do so. And then it has your typical 360 twist and a double jointed bend. And then here we have the opening flap for the I-field generator. However, it doesn't really open that much, and we do not get a I-field effect part, which is a shame, which the Premium Bandai version actually does provide. And that's that. And the hand are your ball jointed hands in the Robot Damashii style, not the HG or kit style, which means that the ball joint is coming out from the arm. And then 360 twist on the arm itself is possible, but you're going to have to fold those wings or boosters. Yes, you can fold them up like this if you want to do so. But once again, no core fighter. Okay, there we go. Okay, now let's look at the waist section. The waist section, not too much. The side skirt moves a little bit. Front skirt also moves a little bit, and then back skirt moves a little bit. Now, I believe in the original Crossbone X, I believe for X1 they give you like some sort of storing unit for the whip, but this one you don't get such thing. And then the legs have a side swivel going on, so going to the side is possible, almost 90 degrees. Backwards, not so much, or forward, not so much, because the back skirt is blocking, so even forward, you can't, it's not easy to go 90 degrees, but you get a nice double jointed bend. Once again, I'm not sure if it's because if it's a second-hand product, but the joint here is a little bit slippery. I'm not going to say it's loose, but it has that slippery feeling onto it. Once again, all these yellow vents, very well colored, and yeah. Also, yeah, another like nice detail is that the knee section kind of like pops out like this. So yeah. And on the back of the legs, this is where this is where the heat daggers are supposed to be stored. Now the ones you see right over here are not the actual heat daggers. These are just the handles. So they give you the illusion of the heat daggers being stored in there. And then we have the feet. Now here is the problem I was talking about. The feet has these movements going on for some reason. So which is why every time I try to put it on a flat ground, sometimes it does that. So, which is why it's kind of tricky to hold it in unless, like, you can make this part very stiff. Also, we have this hole on the bottom of the feet. This is to put in the heat dagger onto the feet. I think it's this way or the other way around. Or either way, I keep forgetting. But once you put it in, it's pretty stuck in there. So keep that in mind. And basically, you can put in the heat dagger and then do this, because in the manga, the characters actually does use this function a lot. So yeah. Of course, there's like different versions, because sometimes only the blade would pop out. This one, in case the entire handle comes out as well. Because sometimes they actually throw the heat dagger with a kick. Okay, we've seen all the articulations. Now let's talk about the whatchamacallit, equipment. Now, first of all, most of the equipment can hold pretty well, except for the Murasame Blaster would be the main problem. So first of all, we have the Beam Saber. No problem at all of holding it, because very big Beam Saber handle, and it's pretty tightly held in there. So once again, being a Robot Damashii figure, the way how you put the weapons onto the hand is basically just just jamming it in there. You just gotta squeeze it in, and there you go. You have no problem holding these. Same goes for the Murasame Blaster, so I'm not gonna be on too detailed on that. But of course, some weapons are tricky, like this one, because the handle is not actually, you know, the handle we know, but it still works. So yeah. My personal favorite is the Heat Dagger because I just really love how this came out. Because I was not expecting to see some metallic silver. Whoops, sorry about that. I was not expecting to see some metallic silver on such, you know, weapon, but yeah, it's happened, and I'm really glad I got this. So because I'm actually thinking of making a video regarding secondhand products because they're not too bad as well. I mean, if you can save money and get the product you actually want, yeah, they're not a bad idea. Of course, there are some catches, like such as box condition and stuff. Mine, I got this for $30, but the box condition was not that great. But once again, I'm just happy to have the product. So we have the Heat Dagger, holds on to this very well. Whoops, what's going on? Oh, there we go. And finally, we have the Murasame Blaster. Now, first of all, I'm just gonna admit, now I can hold it as a sword. As a gun, I gave up. I just couldn't get the hand into that handle right over there. So I'm sorry, but I did my best. But once again, once you have the beam saber, the beam effect parts, it still holds it pretty well. But in the long run, you might see the shoulder like slide down a little bit. I'm not sure if it's because this is actually heavy or it's just mine. It's just aged. So that's one. But if you don't have the beam sabers, beam effect parts, it's okay. It doesn't happen. And now with the extra longer beam part, now this, it's not gonna hold it because even with just this, the handle cannot hold. The wrist isn't able to handle it. So that's kind of a downside. But once again, I'm still not too sure if it's just the figure itself or it's just how aged this thing is because the person actually had this for more than for a long time. So, and he had this displayed on a certain pose for a long time, which could have affected some joints here and there. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So once again, all these pegs are meant for the storing on the waist section. So if you have if you're holding this, you can pretty much store everything else. And yeah, and that's pretty much it for the Robot Damashii Crossbone Gundam X-3 review. Now once again, if you can find the premium Bandai version, you definitely go for it. But if you're just here to collect Robot Damashii figures, especially all the Crossbone Gundams, definitely this is going to be a good collection as well. Despite there might be some parts or effect parts lacking compared to the premium Bandai version, this is also a very good. It also has its own charm to it as well, and it's pretty cheap if you can find one these days. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching the review. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more kits to buy and figures to buy and review them, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.